President Joe Biden plans to unveil a proposal on Monday to significantly overhaul the Supreme Court. Biden is likely to support term limits for justices and an enforceable ethics code, in a remarkable shift for a president who has long resisted calls to reform the High Court. He is also expected to push for a constitutional amendment to limit immunity for presidents and some other office holders, in response to the Supreme Court's July 1st ruling that presidents are protected from prosecution for official acts while in office, in the case of former President Donald Trump. The details of the proposal are still unclear and could change. Biden is expected to make the call for the sweeping reform during a trip to Texas, where he is scheduled to speak at the Lyndon Baines Johnson Presidential Library in Austin. The White House declined to comment on the matter, but journalist Karine Jean-Pierre said Thursday that Biden believes that if you're in a high office, you have to be transparent, you have to be accountable, you have to be ethical. The suggestion comes as Biden has become increasingly critical of the Supreme Court and its decisions, including rulings by the conservative majority that struck down federal abortion rights, blocked stricter gun regulations, and other priorities of his administration. Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito have also come under scrutiny over their personal conduct. Thomas has failed to disclose lavish gifts, including from wealthy Republican donors. Alito's wife has flown flags outside their homes linked to the storming of Congress and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. "I'm going to call for reform of the Supreme Court because this is so critical to our democracy," Biden said during an Oval Office speech on Wednesday, explaining his decision to drop out of a second term. Ignoring Secret Service recommendations, Trump says he will continue to hold outdoor rallies. Imposing time limits and an ethics code on the Supreme Court would likely require legislation from Congress. The current divided Congress is not expected to consider the issue before the end of the year. Even if Democrats take control of both chambers after the election, they would almost certainly fall short of the 60 Senate seats needed to break a filibuster. A constitutional amendment would face tougher odds, requiring the support of 2/3 of both houses of Congress, as well as the approval of 3/4 of state legislatures. But Biden's endorsement of such major reforms would still be the clearest signal yet that he now shares Democrats' widespread concern that the Supreme Court has become too partisan to its credibility with the American people. "I think the Supreme Court made a terrible decision," Biden said during an interview with NBC News earlier this month, when asked about its ruling on Trump's immunity case. "I would argue that if you look at the constitutional studies that have been surveyed, it looks very far removed from what the founders intended." The proposal, which comes days after Biden abandoned his re-election bid and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, could also further energize a progressive base already energized by Harris's rapid boost within the party. Credits narration by narrator's name, script by writer's name.